Hey, welcome tonight to a special edition of the Big Time Show on this evening. Uh, I usually do not do this, but I guess we can say that the Spirit has led us to this point on this evening to talk about, and I realize that it's Valentine's night and all that kind of stuff, but I want to come on here briefly. Most of you know me from a my sports show, but as I've told you on several occasions, that I am also a preacher and I'm also an assistant pastor here in Memphis, Tennessee, and I am amazed by what I've seen in social media today. I don't know where you are in the country or where you may be listening uh, this small podcast at, or your location anywhere in the country or in the world. But here in Memphis, on today, we had a snowstorm that happened today that came down rather quickly, and it made the streets kind of, at first when it first comes down, it's drivable in areas where, people are constantly driving, but in the neighborhoods, streets are pretty piled up with snow. It's very cold here in Memphis. We're in the teens today. I think the high so far today was uh, 15 degrees, and it is very, very, very cold, and it makes you wonder um, that in the area of the church, it makes you wonder, where does the church really stand? That's where we are. Welcome to all of you that will be joining me on Facebook. I am coming right now on Facebook Live. And there's my son who's here. But I want to talk about rather quickly what it is that we are suffering in here in the church.
Hey everybody.
Hello, everybody, he says.
Hey everybody. I miss you, everybody. I love you, everybody.
Yes. I want to talk about and ask the question rather quickly. What have we really learned from COVID-19, a disease that has hit the world?
Hey guys, the coronavirus started in 21, and the coronavirus is bad for you, and so I want to tell you this for this second. If you were Lakers, so we not talk about the Lakers no more. This is the Dallas Cowboys fan. We need to get the trophy back, and we need to win a Super Bowl when it's not younger. And we had to win with Dak Prescott because he's the best quarterback. And we know, and we are a Dallas Cowboys fan and a Lakers fan, and I'm a kid, and and, and we had to take the champions for. We need to take that champion back from Tom Brady's team, and we need to win a championship against Tom Brady team. And we need to win a championship. We need to win against a team for against a championship. We need to win a championship.
Thank you, son, for your contribution to the conversation. Not, yes, not what I want to talk about, but that's what he knows. But I'm talking about the church right now. Yeah, I know. Won't you leave out and You had something else to say? Y'all forgive me.
So guys, so my dad is a preacher, and happy Valentine's Day. They just got my presents, and and guess what? If there's snow outside, so if you want to, you can play outside and make a snowman with your parents. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Yeah. Good job. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to whoever this is looking. I am going to. Uh, I'm going to probably. Hey Beverly, yeah. I want to talk about the church, but I see right now I can't. I can't really talk about that right now because I'm being interrupted constantly by him. Hey, what's up, Newt? I see you. Yeah, okay. So tonight I want to talk about something church related, but
Dad,
I'm gonna shut this off because I need to get real serious
Dad,
about that. But I don't think I'm gonna be able to get serious because, as you can see, I've been interrupted by the co-host and the star here who really should be in the bed by now, but since he know he's not going to school in the morning, I guess he want to hang out with his daddy. Is that right?
Right, Daddy. Dad, we need to talk. This is a problem.
What's the problem? Y'all forgive me for those who were coming in for church tonight. Yeah, I've been interrupted. Just let me know I can't really talk.
Dad, do you go to church tomorrow?
No, I'm not going to church tomorrow.
So, guys, if you know who's the king it's number one, and it's me.
You're the king? Wait a minute.
I'm the king. You are the king too, but
You're the king.
Yeah, but you know. Huh? Yes.
I'm just being interrupted by everybody tonight. I guess it's just not meant to be.
You
I'm gonna talk about it probably tomorrow. Y'all stay tuned for it.
You the king on you the king on number 2, but I am so the king of number 1. And guys, I want to tell this that it's gonna be a match on basketball. And I want to tell you something. It's gonna be the Dallas Mavericks.
Dallas Mavericks. Yeah, I see you, Mr. Gates. I'm trying, but I can't.
Against the 76ers.
The 76ers. Okay.
Yeah, and you're gonna be the 76ers.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be the Dallas Mavericks. Okay. And I'm gonna beat the team.
You're gonna beat the team.
I'm gonna beat the 76ers.
Okay. Thank you so much, son, for your dialogue tonight. And he's gone. So this what I want to talk about has been ruined, as you can see. Well, it's never been ruined. It's just to let you know what time it is. So I got a few of y'all on here. All I need is about 3 people. We can have somewhat of a church here. So briefly, I was looking on social media today, and I was and not. I don't want you to get confused. I don't want you to get confused by what I'm getting ready to say. I understand weather related, and it's depending on where you're coming from, it could be considered dangerous and all that. But I saw some comments today that said, yeah, it wasn't even snowing yet, but it was a threat of snow, and people were saying, "Well, I'm stay at the house." The attitude is almost kind of like, well, in Memphis, we're not used to snow, not a large amounts of snow. We're used to rain, and when it comes to the church, whenever it just rains, people have this attitude that That's a day off from the church. It just ain't got this way. It's been this way, and it just made me wonder, like, if you're a lover of the coming together as people, uh, and to worship together, then it makes me wonder, what have we really learned from this pandemic that we're in? Um, because for us that love to come together, we all know that part of our lives was taken away for this last year. Um, and it makes you wonder if we have the same attitudes that we had before the pandemic. Then, if you have the same attitude, then what have we learned? I mean, if your desire to worship together is the same as it was before the pandemic, or your desire not to come together has not elevated since the pandemic, or I'll say this, if you've fallen in love with the virtual worship service, then I ask, what have we really learned through this? Um, I mean, I could carry this so many different ways. What have we become better at since the pandemic? What have we? I believe everyone has gained or increased their social media ministry. I believe everybody's on that level. People that did not know anything about social media, all of a sudden, because of the pandemic, they became proficient at it. And the churches that were already involved in it, probably got better in their presentation of the pandemic. So I think we all can agree that we've gotten better in that area. And one thing about the pandemic was not racist. It affected everybody: white churches, black churches, whatever denomination that you're affiliated with. Uh, it affected everybody, and everybody pretty much was on the same page. That page was, you can't go back into your building. That's the page that we were pretty much all on. Uh, so we were dealt that hand, every church, and we had to become better because our members are there. Our members have, with the access of a button on their phone, can go to 5 or 6 different churches in 30 seconds. Uh, Everybody was on the same page. But individually, what have we really learned? That's my question, because I was disturbed by what I saw in social media, uh, about, right here in Memphis. It wasn't that I didn't understand the situation about the inclement weather. It was the attitude from some that said, well, I mean, the snow hadn't even fell yet. Said, well, you just automatically take not going to church in the morning, as if it is not important. And it may not be important to many. It may not. Um, but my thing is, if you were going and were consistent in going to church, and now you have this same attitude, it just leads me to ask, have we really changed? And one of the things that the pandemic has done, whether you believe God did it or the devil did it or God allowed it or you think God don't allow stuff, whatever the case may be, for those of us that like to go to the building, uh, there's just an attitude that just have to be destroyed. It does. When we finally get this chance to go back in, we cannot be the same. We if we do, we didn't learn absolutely nothing. And I'm not talking about emotionalism. I'm not talking about that. Uh, the Bible says, I think David said that he said, "I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord." So there was a feeling just about going there. David at that time had not even entered in, but David said, "I was glad." Just hearing about going to the church brought me joy, excitement level, expectation, all of those different feelings he had just with the announcement that we are going to the house of the Lord. And when he got there, he did not waste time in there. He went there with a purpose. One of the scriptures, and I don't mean to preach to you, but I'm just trying to set up my theory for the night. He said, "I'll bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continue to be in my mouth." And then he also talked about worship. Uh, and if we're going to keep this attitude, I mean, what have we learned individually? Um, have we been praying? I'm not talking about individually. I guess you could say that. I'm saying if your only time for prayer has been when your pastor or whoever leads your time of prayer, whether that's an altar call or a devotion, if that's your only time you've been praying, we done missed it. Okay. Um, this has been a time where most have fasted and prayed. I ask you this: um, have you prayed for your pastor? I mean, seriously, because there's a lot of different angles that you need to be praying for your pastor. Um, have you fasted and prayed for your pastor? There's a lot of different ways you can look at that, uh, because no one knows the strain that a pastor goes through because of this pandemic. Do you know that many churches have closed because of this? Can you imagine the strain on the pastors of churches that have closed? Can you imagine the anguish that they've gone through? Can you imagine the sleepless nights that the pastors have gone through? So, have during this time, have we what have we learned? Have we prayed for our leaders, in particular our senior pastors? Have we done that? And then, have you prayed for the churches? Um, have we been communicating all of the leaders that are church leaders? If you're ahead of anything at your church? Have you been properly communicating with your people that you're leading in the church? Have we been effective with that? Uh, have we learned to use Google Meet? Have we learned to use Zoom to keep connection with the people in the church? Have we checked on the sick? This virus is unbelievable. I guarantee you, people, that you have members of your churches who did not relate to you that they were sick. Whether that's because of fear and whether that's because of embarrassment, I guarantee you, especially you people that are members of large organizations, I mean, large churches, mega churches, or whatever you want to call it. I see you, Glenn. Hey, man. Glenn Sports. I don't, forgive me. This is not sports tonight, but I really believe that, have we done what we can do to keep the church together and little small stuff like that? Like, have you talked to your sick in your church? Have you found out? A lot of them won't even tell you because they don't think they matter in the first place. Not at least on that level. A lot of people not telling you. And I believe that we should make every effort, or should have been making every effort to make, the least keep the connection going. We're living in a time with this digital, whether you're watching your church service by your phone or your computer, or you're listening to it live as you drive, or however the case may be. Uh, One of the things that this thing has done, it has made churches almost in a competition, um, because everyone has to give the best presentation of the gospel, whether that's through song or whether that's preaching, whatever the case may be. It is, and people won't admit it, but it's almost a competition thing. I saw churches that got smoking lights. I mean, they did everything but just rise up through the floor like the Undertaker in wrestling. I mean, they done that almost everything. I mean, so we're living in a time that people are battling because you can just click out of one church and go to the other church and go to another church and go to another church, and then that's fine. It's just that oh yeah, Glenn, yeah, no question. That's how they do it. If you're a church person, you know what I'm talking about. This coronavirus pandemic, the pandemic has put everybody on the same level. Here's the level when it comes to the church. Most churches may be back in their building or partially in, but for one point in time, every church was on this same page. We were kicked out of our churches. I don't care, white, black, Presbyterian, Baptist, Methodist, whatever, Islamic, whatever church you think. I mean, whatever you affiliated with, we were all on the same level. We were kicked in, and we had to reassess ministry as a whole because there was no template, there was no game plan for this. Everybody was learning on the fly. Everybody. Some have done, better than others, but we were learning. Some were learning as we go, Sunday after Sunday after Sunday, to try to make it better. But when I see the same attitudes that I saw today, it make you wonder: have we really learned? Uh, have we elevated? Have our spirits elevated? Has our yearning for the church uh, grown? Has our dedication to the church grown? And I'm not talking individually. I'm not talking individually. I'm talking corporately, because you still have to function. You still have to function as if you are the body. The preacher don't really know unless he's just showing out. I mean, when he gets up or she gets up and speaks, they don't see who joining in or nothing. They got to just go ahead and deliver the word. I mean, you actually have to have the mindset that you're speaking, and you have to act like your church is sitting right in front of you. But what have we? I'm talking corporately as a ministry. I'm talking as if you're in the church. You have to act like it. I mean, have we as leaders in the church, especially if you're a leader, have we gotten better? And I'm not talking about, those who speak on microphones and all that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about everybody from the baptismal part of the service all the way up until, auxiliary leaders. That's what we call people sometimes. What have we done to make the church better? And in this case, for this pandemic, the goal should be, one of the goals. I mean, everybody, I could pass this microphone I'm talking on right now to everybody, and everybody say something different. But one of the goals should have been, is whatever it takes, try to keep your church together. How do you do that? You try to communicate from every facet that you can find, whether that's text messaging, whether that's Zoom, whether that's Google Meet, whether that's phone calls, uh, whether that's getting with your church secretary, finding get all the numbers, I mean, the members, and the numbers of those members, and just call, hey, we checking on you. You doing okay? Have we done that? Especially if you have taken people in, which is just another whole message in itself. If you are one of these churches that have been blessed to still have your church grow during this time, and I'm talking about this pandemic has allowed people to join churches that are not necessarily in their city where they live in. Okay, that's a blessing. That's great. But how are we connecting those people to our church? And may I say this, if the only connection that you have with those members that may be coming from out of town, if your only connection with them is just on that Sunday morning, that's not good. Or your Bible study night. That's not good. How do you bring your church experience to the new member that does not live? I see you, Glenn. I'm coming to you. That does not live. I'm just saying. I'm here in Memphis right now. What if I have a member that joins from Los Angeles? How do I give them the church experience that we're having, other than Sunday morning or Wednesday night? Glenn asked me on a question on Podbean. He said, as a humans, has COVID taught us maybe how to be closer to God at home? Yes, I can't deny that one, but I'm not trying to talk from that perspective, because that kind of leads in, Glenn, to my next question. Okay, for many churches, here it is, Glenn. For many churches, we are great on Sundays. I mean, we have the Sunday thing. All right. Appreciate you, Fred. I see you, man. Thank you. On Sundays, we are great on Sundays. We great. We know how to do that. We got the we know how to church. We know how to. I mean, we're outstanding on Sunday. We're good on whatever Bible study night that you have. But here's the thing that COVID has taught us. Here you go, Glenn. Uh, what COVID should have taught us is how do we function Monday through Saturday. That's what COVID should have been teaching us, because ministry is not just regulated on to Sundays. Unfortunately, what a lot of churches have learned how to do is to make their churches relevant Monday through Saturday. That's the I can't speak for a lot of other churches, but I know that's one area where the black church has gotten better during this time, because ministry goes forth daily. We need God every day. We just don't need him on Sunday. We need him every day. So I'll just let you in on what we do at our church. What I started at our church, we have a thing that's called daily divine reflections. It don't take much. You just need to make your church visible during the week, because people are looking for the church. They locked up in the house. They can't go nowhere. A lot of them are quarantined. A lot of them are asking the question, where is God and why God and all that kind of stuff. You need to have something there as a church, because that's what they're looking for before they get too depressed and all that. So what we did at the church, I started of course, with the blessing of my pastor, I started daily divine reflections, where a few of our ministers who can flat out write, they have a daily devotional that shows up every day, with the exception of Saturday, Monday through Friday. They get the morning word out, motivation. They're great writers. They do that every day. What does that do? It makes your church visible every day. It don't take much. You do that. I've seen other churches that have where pastors are confident in themselves or whatever, and they have allowed. I've seen a church that has a campus pastor, a worship pastor, and then something like that, and then of course the senior pastor. Well, those two other pastors, other than the senior pastor, they have a midday. They do 15 minutes. The other pastor does 15 minutes. Then the senior pastor closes the night out. They made a decision that we're going to be on social media every day, whether that's live or whether that's with a post or whatever. And that's one thing that some churches have learned, that during this time, we have to be visible every day. Every day. Every day. Some folks say it's too much, and the truth of the matter is it's not enough. You have to. I mean, what have we really learned? I mean, we know how to preach. We know how to tune up. We know how to dance. We know how to shout. We know how to holler. We know how to squall. We know how to. We know how to. We know how to speak in tongue. We know how to fake tongues. We know how to. We know how to do the offering. We know that stuff. I'm talking about stuff beyond Sunday morning. That's where a problem with a lot of the churches have messed up. So I don't know if we learned. I saw the attitudes of the day about the snow, and I said, like, wow, the snow ain't even hit yet. They already said they ain't coming to church. I mean, we really need to check ourselves, look in the mirror, and see. Exactly. Hey, bro, Phipps, I see you. Churches have exactly. They have to learn. They had no choice. Uh, because ministry is not just regulated to Sunday mornings. So there are some things that we as a body should have learned during this time, and it's been a year. So to be honest with you, if you ain't learned now, I ain't gonna say you can't, because I can't say what God can't do and all that, but you had to. With most people, most ministers had to be incredibly creative with their giving. I'll show you another thing. Why are you limiting your church to only give one way? Uh, we're living in a time now where this thing right here, this phone, is just so crazy. I mean, it's why do you just limit people to Cash App? A lot of people don't have Cash App on their phone. Why are you limiting people to just Givelify? People don't have Givelify on their phone. They may have Cash App. Why are you only regulating your church to text to give? A lot of people don't text to give. They want to do Cash App. Why don't you have drive-by giving at your church? Some people just want to drive on the lot. Some people don't trust Givelify. Some people don't trust Cash App. Some people don't even have this stuff on their phone. They used to just doing an envelope and do it. So why not offer it all to them? Y'all see what I'm saying? These are things that we should have learned by that. These are things that we should have learned. And uh, some things that we also should have learned is not to do stuff that just don't make any sense. Like if you're a church that had uh, 2 or 3 services on a Sunday, but before the pandemic, you only had 15 people in your church. Why are you putting that pressure on yourself, bro, pastor, of trying to do that when you know it's not beneficial to you financially to do it? I mean, you had to. No, and I wanted to, please don't come to me talking about the Lord would make a way somehow. No, I don't want to. We don't want to hear that. You had to be smart in church. You have to see a lot of people. There's a business side to church as well. Some of y'all don't like what I just said, but it's just the truth. While y'all shouting and the organ done crunk up and all that kind of stuff, guess what? That meter is outside that church. It's still flowing. The MLG and W trying to come get that money. Whatever you live at. Huh? I mean, I'm just telling the truth. Every time them lights turn on, the meter outside the church is doing this. It's a business side to church. Why are you pressing yourself, bro pastor, or sister pastor? Why putting that type of pressure on yourself? There's just something we need to learn. It's just some things that we need to learn that we should have learned by now. We should have learned. Uh, I mean, we're leaning. Hey, Glenn says social media presence and the ability to adjust to the time. It's good in theory, but a lot of people may be very uncomfortable with the new platforms. Uh, that's true, Glenn. But let me ask you this. I'm sorry. Let me go back, Glenn. Glenn said, where do pastors and people involved in churches learn this? One of the ways that they learn, Glenn, is the Holy Spirit. That's one way. The other way is simply by getting on phones with people that are in the same boat as you are and kind of learning from you. It's kind of like you have a sports show. You deal with hockey and stuff, even though I'm not a gigantic hockey fan. But if I want to know something about hockey, I need to talk to somebody that knows about hockey. So I need to come talk to you. See, pastors have taken a position over the years that they know everything. and nobody can tell or teach them anything. Those days are over with. Simply because this situation, the pandemic, put everybody on the same level, and it was a brand new sickness in there that nobody. There was, as I said earlier, there was no template for this. Yeah, exactly. There was no template for this, so everybody was on the same page. Uh, some had things already in place. Many churches already had social media platforms before the pandemic, but what the pandemic did was make it force them to become even better at it. Okay, and then you had others who were not great at it at all had to learn square one. So if I am started from square one, why not call and find somebody that's on square five, and maybe they can help me with the ideas of, okay, how do you reach what streaming service do you use? I mean, I'm going technical. See, everything in church is not regulated to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Sometimes it's just good business. Ask questions. What streaming service do you use? Are there any glitches in it? Simple stuff like that. How many cameras are needed? You know, these are things that you can do. I think you said social media presence and ability to adjust to the time is good in theory, but a lot of people may be very uncomfortable with the new platform. Well, unfortunately, this may sound wrong when I'm saying that everybody have to get used to it though, Glenn, because as I said before, this is something that we've never done before. This is something that we as a body of Christ have not, we've never been in this. And the situation requires adjustment. It's no other way around it. You can't do what you used to do. You can't. You can't. If your church is not big enough in the sanctuary, if you can only hold 100 people, you got to use your smarts. I mean, if everybody's supposed to be following CDC guidelines, everybody's supposed to be 6 feet apart, and you used to having 100 people in. Obviously, you got to know what's the limit, and you can't go over it. I mean, how do you spread people out? What rows do you sit in? I mean, do you skip all this stuff. Do you skip a row? How many people can line on a row? If you're supposed to be 6 foot apart and all. These are things that, you just have to do. When a person speaks, like I'm on this microphone right here, how do you protect the next person that may come and use the microphone that, 3 seconds after you sit down? Are you supposed to wipe it down? Are you supposed to have somebody come clean it before they come speak? Because your germs are on this microphone, just like now I'm speaking. My germs are on this microphone. And if the germs are there, you inhaling, you can get sick. I mean, I'm talking about these are things that we have to do to get better. And as we go in, because church will never be the same. You still going to have people that come in. You still going to have people that are going to be wearing masks when they come back to the church. It's just that simple. This is the time we're living in. I'm reading your stuff, Glenn. Glenn saying, as someone who uses Podbean, do you cast your service online? No. I'm an assistant pastor, Glenn. I'm not the senior pastor, but we're on Facebook. Greater Imani Church, the Cathedral of Faith. Greater Imani, IMANI. That's the church where I attend in Memphis, Tennessee. I guess I'll type that out for you. That's a second, Glenn. Cathedral. I'm surprised some of y'all are up to this. I usually don't do this. I usually promote it, but Spirit just hit me and just told me to come on here. So whoever's on was just gonna be on. I know it's late and all that kind of stuff. So there it is. Glenn, that's our show. You can find that on Facebook. uh, and just follow it. I got every service since we've been in the pandemic is on there. My pastor, of course, is on there, and I'm even on there speaking a couple times. Uh, and you'll see. So check that out at your own leisure. But that was really my question about the attitudes that I've seen. You know, is quite disturbing. You know, we have to even to be developing strategies in the future, like this, for instance, brother pastors and sister pastors. Uh, what strategy are we going to implement to members who have fallen in love with the virtual service and will not come back, or all of a sudden they found out that the virtual service kind of fits them better than them waking up in the morning, putting their clothes on, coming to the service. And what I'm saying is, imagine this, good people. There are people who are constant worship service attenders. I'm talking about they're there almost every Sunday. They never had the chance to experience the virtual service because they was always there. But now they have found another brand new light in worship, and they fall in love with it, and they ain't worried about coming back. How do you what it would be the strategy for those members that watch this and they still tithe? That's not the issue. They tithe, but they fallen in love now with staying at home, drinking their coffee, stopping, pausing the service, or clicking out the service. They figured that that's just the best way for them. Yeah, exactly. Glenn says going to church in your underwear is someone's dream. Exactly. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people be in the bed under the covers, just hold their phone up and just look at you like that. They don't feel like getting up at 8 o'clock, showering or taking a bath and putting a suit on and or a dress or whatever. They don't want to do that. They fallen in love with that. Have we have has the church, has your church started to start thinking about that? How are we going to draw them back in? Because uh church is not going to be the same. It's just not. It's just not. And when we are finally able to come back, we're still going to have to be incredibly innovative in our presentations of the ministry. Uh, Kevin says, I think that the church may get some people who never had attended an in-person service. That may be true too. That's I think you're always gonna have that. There's gonna be people that coming. But Bro Phipps, my question is those folks who was coming before the pandemic constantly, and now all of a sudden have a different mindset and a different attitude. That's who I'm concerned about. I think as long as the church doors open, you're always gonna have people to come in. That I think that's a given. But what about your core group of members who have changed their mindset? And I don't think a lot of people are thinking about this kind of stuff. I just don't. Uh, and for some may be saying, you know, uh, well, you just said, Brooks, you just said that, they giving on the phone, they can watch the service, so they are attending the service. That's true. But then we have to go biblical, where the Bible speaks specifically about us coming together in a set place, worshiping corporately together. Not saying that you can't get what you need from God single. I mean, I ain't saying that. I'm not saying that you cannot get it. Uh, by yourself. God deals with you individually, but you can't negate the fact of the power of people coming together. Glenn says how his pastors have adjusted in how they greet their church crowd. Hugs, handshakes seem to be a thing of the past now. I don't think that's gonna happen anymore, Glenn. The fellowship and the handshaking and hugs, like I said, everything has changed. And now when you bring that, Glenn, I'm talking real simple stuff. We had to be very careful on how we interact with the people, because one wrong interaction, people are sensitive. Like if you reach out your hand and shake your hand, then all of a sudden we can't wash your hand. I can't shake your hand. Some people gonna get upset about that. So we have to avoid that. I'm serious. We really have to think about all this. People are extra sensitive. They if you don't shake their hand, or if you don't give them a hug, some people will leave your church just because you didn't do that. That's how people are. So you have to. Everything is going to have to be talked about and designed. I'm talking about from the opening all the way to the benediction. Glenn brought up, talking about that. I mean, you're really gonna have to judge and say, okay, when the preacher finished preaching, does he immediately just go out, and whoever is with him, does he go out and go in the back? In other words, there will be no fellowship and no shaking hands, all that. That would take away that situation if you did it like that. But then people will say that you so rude. He don't want to be around his own. I'm just saying that's how people are. He don't want to be around his own members and stuff. Kevin says yes. Some of those who have been doing virtual service may choose to stay worship home for reasons such as safety for themselves and family. And there's nothing wrong with that. What Kevin said. And that's true too, Kevin. But again, that's not the crowd that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the crowd who, if the rain fall, if just a little drip fall, the attitude is we ain't coming to church. That's what I'm talking about. I saw that today with the snow, and it just made me start thinking about all these different scenarios that I just it just made me just start thinking, and there's so many different scenarios that I could think about. I'm quite sure before I go to sleep tonight, I'll be talking about this some type of way. Uh, Glenn says maybe in 2021 that place is pod being on Facebook, and the literal meaning may be different from the biblical sense. The issue doesn't matter what you do, someone will find themselves offended, no question. Uh, the social media part, Glenn, to piggy on what you're saying, the social media part of ministry will not go away. If anything, it's been strengthened by the pandemic. It gives your church access to be with you. So that part is not going away. So if anything, it's just going to get even better. My point is tonight is that, you know, that part is already kind of set in stone. But because members are so scattered, uh, the communication has to be. I don't think there's no such thing as enough communication, especially if you have a large church. We have a large church. Uh, Glenn says the stronger the social media. I think that I think will take away from the physical church. Well, I believe you're absolutely right. And since that is the case, Glenn, that's my argument or that's my statement tonight. Okay. We're good on Sundays, but the ministry is 24/7. We have to make ministry every day. And I'm not talking about a preacher get on Facebook Live and preach every night. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying there should be other areas. You know, what are the kids doing? How are we reaching our youth and our kids? I mean, I'm saying I've been thinking, and that's another whole area. I said, what are you gonna do for your kids or your children that go to your churches? Uh, how are you presenting the gospel to them? How are you keeping them connected? Uh, what ways? Well, there's so many ways that you could do it. Zoom, Google Meet, Group Me. Uh, I mean, just so many different ways. So, how in the world are we going? I mean, these are things that we have to think about, and considering the fact that could I'm sorry, Glenn said could or would the ministry think about remote church services as a thing or so physical location? Those are things that are happening in some churches. I've seen churches, Glenn, that set up a tent outside. What CDC have said is that if there's, air that is consistently blowing, around, you can do that. So I've seen churches that have uh, put tents outside and set up seats outside and had church outside, get the sound equipment and all that kind of stuff, and what a big deal. You still had, um, social distancing even outside, but I've seen that. So that's just one of the ways that I was saying that the church has to be innovative. That's a good way. Corporate no power bill and such pastors are set up at home. Yeah, uh, pastors have preached from their houses. That's easy. Pastors have done Bible study at their houses. But if you're a part of a large church, how are you making the ministry better Monday through Saturday? The pastors have. They're just in their routine. The only thing is they're just not preaching in front of a crowd. The preaching part is not the issue. They just only issue is they just don't have nobody in front of them. So that's not the issue. The preaching part is one of the easiest things you can do. The hard thing to do is how can you make the ministry visible and better at home? I mean, Monday through Saturday. That's the next level. Uh, that's the next level. How do you make the ministry better during the weekday? Uh, because the element of saying, "Hey, I'm coming to church on Sunday," that's gone as of right now. It is. Do some pastors feel as though they are paid for Sunday only? I wish I could answer that. If you were asking me that, Glenn, I believe the educated guess would be yes, because really that's all they have to do is just preach and teach. You know, that's it. Some churches are like that. Some churches are not huge. Smaller churches they don't have the ministry. The ministry or the people for ministry to do it. So all they have to do is preach and sing. And some churches are like that until God, of course, grows their ministry where they can elevate and do other things. But as for some churches are built like that. Uh, then you have churches that are huge that have ministries where you can do food drives and things along that nature. Some churches have clothing drives, and some churches uh, stuff like that that requires that. Some people have hospital ministries, prison ministries, etc., to make it happen. Glenn says no. So what the ministry need to change on ground level to make the adjustment? It just depends on your church. What do you have at your church? To be honest with you, Glenn, I'm just gonna be honest with you. A lot of pastors, they be truthful. They don't know what they got. I'm serious. It's a lot of people that you would think because of how easy it is to uh, look at other churches. Uh, there are a lot of people who have joined other churches and have left churches. Now, there's no way of finding that out unless you talk to them. But there are a lot of people who have left. So first thing you got to do, when we're finally able to go back in, we need to find out, okay, who's all on board. See, uh, we got to find that out. Then you be able to make the proper adjustments from there. Kevin says, I think the most effective about not being in the building is the young people. I agree. Zoom meeting is fine for the various groups in the church to meet, but we still have people who don't have no internet access in their home. Well, that's obviously true. Uh, you just gotta, yeah, in that case, I don't know really what you can do because social media is the internet. Um, I don't. Maybe you need to add a radio ministry. You see what I'm saying? Uh, that don't require internet access. It means so many different ways you can get to it, but that's a good one there, Kevin. A lot of people don't have. You just got to find a way if they're really interested in the church. But Kevin, since our church is huge as far as sanctuary goes. Some of this stuff is just, you got to deal with the fact that a lot of people just don't want to come to the church, but they go everywhere else. Come on now. They go to Walmart. Okay. They go to people houses. They still go to sporting events. They go to this place and this place. But when it comes to church, they want to get all technical. So you got that group. See what I'm saying? The more I keep talking, the more I can, keep going. Uh, Glenn said, I'm uneducated on this topic. I'm just curious. Yeah, it's okay. We all learning together. But you got that group, and that group there, Kevin Phipps. That's a lot of people in that group. That when it comes to the church, they get purely technical. Okay, I'm not going to church. The church, you don't want to. I don't want to go into a closed environment. I don't want to do that. That's what they say, but they go everywhere else. They go to the mall. They go to games. They go to restaurants. They go to parties. They go to the family house and get. I mean, they go out of town. They do all this, but when it comes to the church, they get technical. So you got that group that exists. Uh, Glenn said, "Would you say that double standard as far as churches goes come from the bad publicity churches got at the beginning of COVID?" Let me read that again because I'm kind of confused, Glenn. Would you say that double standard as far as churches go come from the bad publicity churches got at the beginning of COVID? Yeah, a lot of people got that because let's be honest, there were churches that did get it. But the reason why they got it is because number one, they didn't believe that this thing was real. And number two, they didn't follow the instructions of what they were saying. They didn't social distance. They didn't wear a mask. They didn't, you know, they didn't sanitize. They didn't do all that kind of stuff. And before you know it, a lot of people got it. But from that, I agree with you. When one church get it, it seems like every church paid the price for it. All the churches get blamed when one go down. That's just that's just how it is. Uh, Kevin said people been making excuses about attending church before the pandemic. That's true. That's true. Basically tonight, and I'm sorry if I was rambling on, but like I said, the spirit had touched my heart, and I just had to come out and say it just based off what I saw on social media today about the attitude. It kind of lines right in with what Kevin Phipps said about people making excuses about not coming to church. Uh, that's fine. It's just that, and I'm really not even worried about that because that's just where it's gonna be. I'm really trying to be concerned about our leaders in the church, those who have responsibilities in the ministry. What are we doing to make the ministry better? Bottom line, and I'm speaking of Monday through Saturday. I'm not speaking of Sunday. Sunday is good because we're living in a time now where people want something spiritually every day, every day, whether that's through your prayer lines, whether that's through your, in our case, kind of like a devotional, whether that's, something. Something should be from your church every day. I mean, we post about everything else. I mean, here I am. Y'all know what I do for those that are on here. I'm a sports podcaster, but as I said before, my show, because of who I am in church, I will go religion on you sometime, but not as far as preaching. I'd like to bring up topics like this, like what do we do to get better as a ministry? Because people are looking for God daily. It's just the truth, and if they have decided to join your church, I think it's the church responsibility that there should be available ministry daily. Jesus just didn't work on Sundays. Jesus worked every day. Why shouldn't we? Kevin said, so what has the spirit told you about that getting the contract he deserves? I just had to throw that topic in there. Well, I can't say the spirit ain't told me nothing. I'm just going by what I've seen from the Jones family when it come to that and the lack of them not paying them. I just believe that they're going to franchise them, just to answer your question. I think they're going to franchise them again and give us the runaround saying we'll have his long-term deal before July, which is the end on March 9th. March 9th is the day that everybody should be looking at. They have to do something with him. They have to franchise him by March the 9th. If they don't franchise him, he becomes an unrestricted free agent. So it's either one or two things going to happen. Either they're going to franchise him on March 9th or they're going to let him walk. I don't think they're going to let him walk. I believe they're going to franchise him and then give us the runaround saying, hey, we're gonna hammer this contract out before July and he'll be with us. That's the same thing they said last year, but didn't get it done. So Glenn said it never fails. It doesn't matter what the topic is, that comes up. Yeah. Hello, Jesus, is that you? I believe that's you. Hello, welcome to the little show. I'm almost through now. You got to come back and catch everything, but I'm concerned about the church. I guess I have no choice considering who I am in the church. Uh, and these are things that I myself have to look in the mirror and ask myself these questions. What are we doing to make it better? Uh, since the church has changed, since we're not going, back in the building fully, and everybody not gonna come back. That's fine. How do we make the the presentation just as effective as it, if you're in the building or something as close to it as possible? That's the question. And how do you do that? So pray for your pastors that they may pray for their minds and their spirits and their hearts. If you believe, pray for them that God would give them wisdom uh, and give them a mind that's innovative and creative for them to keep things going. Because it's a new world. It's completely different than what it was before the pandemic, and I believe that we're entering areas still that we haven't even really thought about. I just gave you a few of them tonight. What happens when the doors open and ain't nobody walking in? Okay, what what do you do then? That's where we're heading, uh, and I think that's worth talking about. So I'm done from tonight. I'm gonna have to pick this back up again, but hey, come back with me on Tuesday at 7:30. I'll be talking cowboy stuff. There you go, Glenn. There you go, Phipps. I'll be talking cowboy stuff on Tuesday at 7:30. Uh, but this may not. I hope some of y'all get it. I hope it make you think a little bit, because it sure is making me think. What we talked about tonight is making me think heavily, and you don't want to get behind in church. You want to stay current. Old ways may not work during this time. So you got to ask God to be creative for creativity. I'm sorry, during this time. So I appreciate you guys. I know it's late. Some of y'all got to go to work in the morning. Hey, I apologize. Well, I don't apologize, but thank you for hanging with me. I will see you guys on Tuesday, uh, 7:30 p.m. here at the Big Time Show. I'll holler at you.